Good evening, Grinders. Welcome to the NFL Pre-Lock Show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderEd, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter. Joined by Justin Van Zuden, STL Cards, to talk about 49ers at Titans. The 49ers are currently a 3.5-point favorite. The total is 45.5, as I show on the screen here at scoresandodds.com, our sister site. And if you're going to bet on the game, tonight, you haven't used BetMGM yet, go to BetMGM, make a deposit using the promo code GRINDERSBET. That's all one word, GRINDERSBET. And when you make a $10 bet, if your team scores a touchdown, $200 straight in your pocket, not really in your ball, in your account. And then you could turn it into in your pocket. It won't. Don't look in your pockets. Nothing's going to show up in your pockets, but it'll show up in your account. So why not do that? But Justin, 49ers at Titans, not the most appealing of games, but if you take a look at the games that are on Sunday, 45.5 total is actually on the high side. Inactives news. Is there anything on the inactives report that we have to care about? We have AJ Brown in, we have Julio in, we have Eli Mitchell out. Is there anything like subsidiary players we have to look at because of who's in and out? It looks like the inactives reports are pretty minimal.
pretty much in line with expectations. So I don't think so. Because pretty much full steam ahead with what we have, which maybe isn't great. These are two teams that generally lack explosiveness, I should say. You're not going to see a ton of big plays from these quarterbacks. And you might see it turn into a ball control, field position type game early. I'm actually kind of surprised it's 45. I would have figured a couple points lower than that, but I suppose AJ Brown's worth a little bit too with him being back tonight. So yeah, we'll see. Pretty important game in terms of even though these teams aren't so exciting, their records are pretty good and pretty important race for both teams in the playoff hunt. So hopefully we get a good one.
If you're watching on YouTube and you're not aware, with the chat's gone. Oh my God, where do I chat? You can do that in our Discord. We have a public, private, I don't know what you want to call it. They're free channels. You don't have to be a premium member. Just go to rotogrinders.com/Discord or click on the little Discord icon on the RotoGrinders website and go to the live-stream-chat channel, the live stream chat channel. And you can type any questions you want in there, converse amongst yourselves. We'll answer as much as we can over the next 45 minutes or so. I'm getting reports, and Devin has posted in the chat that according to Cameron Wolf, who I'm assuming is a beat writer, AJ Brown is expected to have a full workload. I've learned my lesson with guys like AJ Brown and Julio Jones, that no matter how healthy they seem to be in the beginning of the game, that doesn't necessarily mean they make it to the end of the game. Do you think on this slate, people are going to play guys like, I think more people are going to jam Brown at 8,800 versus Julio at 6,800. But do you think that people are underestimating that the amount of snaps that guys like Westbrook Akine and Chester Rogers, the tight ends, do you think that they're going to run a more tight, condensed amount of snap share for these wide receivers? Or, I mean, we've seen in the past games without them, they kind of like rotate like 5 guys in, even the running backs, that it seems like the ownership's going towards AJ Brown. Do you think we're looking a little too optimistic about his?
I mean, I do.
prospects?
Yeah, I do think they're still going to rotate guys. I mean, just to be a little safe, if anything, you're not going to see him run out there for 100% of the snaps. I don't think in his first game in a month, but and I think the lines are kind of indicative of that as well. If you look at his props, I think they'll be a little cautious. Not that he can't play 70% of the snaps or something like that, but Julio was a little banged up last week too. So, you're still going to see Westbrook Akine in there. You're still going to see Chester Rogers rotate in there. You're still going to see some 2 tight end sets. So, while I like AJ Brown a lot as a player, I do think maybe we're being a little overly optimistic about how much he's going to be out there. They might use the coach speak and say no snap count, but we've seen plenty of times where really when push comes to shove, that doesn't mean anything.
In the chat, S Lambert 31 asked why is AJ Brown been out? I believe that was a chest injury. I don't think it has anything to do with his legs.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't have affected, too much as far as his ability to stay in shape and stuff. So I think if he's out there, he's probably fine, but a chest injury too, it might affect your conditioning a little bit. So I think they'll give him a blow when they need to, for sure.
Well, with Brown and Julio back, Brown back and Julio kind of whatever, he's there. Guys like Westbrook Akine and Chester Rogers at 5,400 and 4,800 seem a bit overpriced for the wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4. Of course, that'll lower their ownership. So if you're the type that wants to, fade Brown, fade Jones, I think a contrarian option would be Westbrook or Rogers. But I mean, if the snap share gets split out enough, like, I'm not interested in paying these prices for these guys. And similarly for the tight ends like Swaim and Ferkser, like most of my lineups, I'm playing more of like one of Brown or Jones or Foreman alongside Tannehill. And I think on this slate, the quarterbacks, it's a weird slate because of pricing. I think the quarterbacks and the defenses are actually going to go a bit under-owned, and people are going to try to jam in Kittle, Samuel, Brown, Foreman, like try to make a lot of lineups that have all skill position players and not necessarily the quarterbacks. But I mean, that would be the most probable route. If we think this is more of a sludgy type of game, even though both teams may score, Tennessee may score twice, 2 touchdowns, 49ers may score 3 or 4 touchdowns. It may not be like Jimmy G throwing 303 or Tannehill throwing 250 and 2 types of games. But I think taking advantage of, if this game goes over, I think the constructions that have the quarterbacks in it may be more valuable than ones that have very high owned Deebo and Kittle. And Deebo at 11.6 do you think that the field, here's the question. Are you scared, or do you think the field is scared about Deebo essentially being a running back since he's been back? Or do you think that even on limited interactions, that 11.6 is worth it for him? Like, would you play Deebo and Jeff Wilson? We'll talk about Jeff Wilson in a second, but I get the sense that people may shy away from Samuel and lead more towards Kittle just based on the recent games. But I think
Samuel has a rushing touchdown in 5 straight games.
But I mean, for a ceiling perspective, can he get 100? Can he get the 100-yard bonus? Right? Can he get multiple touchdowns? Like at 11.6, like more people will think. Like, you see where I'm going. I'm leaning more towards playing Deebo over Kittle. people would look at Kittle's recent results and go, okay, this guy could go 8 for 100 with 2 touchdowns. And that bonus, the extra PPR points on DraftKings are worth more than Deebo touching the ball 12 times. Even if he scores 2 touchdowns, Kittle's 8 for 101 touchdown may actually be more points than Deebo going like he catches 2 balls for 20 yards, has 7 rushes and a touchdown. It's like he's 11-6. Like it's much harder to get for him to get there because the PPR points may not be there. But I think people are going to look at more of the recent results and not like, dude, this guy could catch an 80-yard touchdown also. So like this isn't a guy that's like, oh, maybe he touches the ball 10 times. Like those 10 times could be 30 yards each.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of Deebo. I think that he still had 4 catches for 60 yards last week, so he may not be as likely to get that 100-yard bonus anymore since he's being used out of the backfield. But yeah, like you say, he can easily break a big play too. I like Deebo over Kittle in a vacuum.
Or even in a vacuum, because I think I like Kittle over Samuel. I think Kittle has the narrower range of outcomes, but Deebo could put up a 40-point game.
Yeah, right? I mean, Deebo has the upside. I don't know. It's close, but I'd take. I mean, we have Deebo with the higher floor. We have Deebo with the higher ceiling. We have Deebo with the higher raw fantasy point projection, only by a point. But, and the ownership maybe is a touch lower because he's $400 more as well. So, I know the tight ends are the plays in Showdown these days, but I like Deebo.
How about Ayuk at 8K? Do you think he's a bit overpriced now that everyone's kind of healthy?
Yeah, and I just think he sucks, frankly. I don't know. I mean, he had one game where he kind of broke out, and that was because they had a bunch of guys hurt. 11 targets. That game went overtime as well. 6 for 62 and a touchdown against Cincinnati, but he had 1 catch last week, 3 catches, and he was awful the first part of the year. So, I mean, I get why you might want to play him, but I just don't think he's that good, and I'm not paying $8K for not that good. So, yeah, I'm largely out on Ayuk.
I think Ayuk provides leverage on Samuel, Kittle.
Oh, if you're not playing Samuel or Kittle, then yeah, I mean, they got to throw the ball somewhere. I think he belongs in some of those lineups for sure.
Best play on the slate overall, Jeff Wilson Jr., 5,200. Obviously underpriced since Eli Mitchell is out. Obviously in the last game, he scored. I mean, we saw the game before that Jimmy G missed him in the end zone. Deebo, vultures a touchdown from him. But in a game where they're expected to be ahead, I mean, Jeff Wilson, they have no problem giving him the ball, 20 times if they're rolling. At 5,200, I mean, compared to the guys underneath them, like I have Jeff Wilson in most of my lineups because it's hard for me to see him fail from a median perspective. Yeah. Whether or not he makes the optimal GPP winning lineup is a different story. But like, I'm not that enamored on the slate about the cheap options. And if they're going to give me a $5,200 running back that could see 20 plus touches, why don't I just take it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been good in the past when he's gotten that opportunity. He was good last week. His rush yard prop is 62.5. It's the highest of anybody on the slate. So at that salary, he's just hard to pass up on because I don't see a whole lot of upside. And you hit on this, the guys underneath him, like the guys around him in price are Westbrook-Ikhine, Jawan Jennings, Chester Rogers. If you're going a little cheaper, like Hilliard, McNichols, the tight ends for Tennessee. I mean, those guys have so much volatility compared to Wilson, who's probably looking at 20 touches again. So even though he's going to be popular, we've got him at 8% of the captain. And
I think that's going to be higher.
It probably will be a little higher, especially with people trying to get Brown in now. So let's just round it up to 50. But still, I mean, I think you could put him on every lineup and feel like it was the right move.
And then if you don't play him, I mean, obviously you throw in a guy like Hasty or Juice Jack or something. Or how about what I mean, would correlation wise, I think Wilson at his price, because I think we're going to get this type of question. Wilson at 5,200 is cheap enough that I don't care if I play him with Deebo, and I don't care if Deebo gets one of the rushing touchdowns. I'm less inclined to play Garoppolo with Wilson. If any, like to me, the guy that is more negatively affected by Wilson doing well is not Deebo Samuel. It's actually Jimmy G, because it's not like they really throw the ball much to Wilson. So I think like if Wilson, whenever Wilson gets a touchdown, yes, it negatively affects Deebo also because he's not the one getting the touchdown. But I think I think Deebo has. If you tell me Jeff Wilson has 2 touchdowns today, it's still possible for Samuel to have 30 fantasy points. I mean, like it's still possible for him to have 100 yards and a touchdown. But if you tell me Wilson has 2 touchdowns rushing, it's going to be hard for me to see Garoppolo at 10-4 being in the winning GPP lineup over Samuel or Kittle.
No, I agree. I would totally follow that same process as well.
Doesn't mean you can't have both of them together. I mean, you can still play Garoppolo, Wilson. I mean, some of my lineups are Garoppolo, Wilson, and Samuel. You just, you're kind of doing these like onslaughts. I mean, I'm not playing five 49ers in my lineups. I'm doing mostly 4-2, 2-4, 3-3, that type of stuff. But on this slate, like underneath the kickers and the defenses, like the reason I have a whole bunch of 49ers defense. I have a lot of Titans defense. I have a lot of Robbie Gould. Like, because we have these Tennessee guys like Rodgers and Westbrook-Ikine that are overpriced. Then we have like Jawan Jennings, probably overpriced also at 5,000. And then you have the kickers and the defense. And then underneath that, you have guys that may not even touch the ball, or like you got Dontrell Hilliard. It's like, okay, that's doable. He'll probably, get 6-7 touches or something. You got the tight ends here. You got, and then you go down and then it's just like Racy McMath. And it's like, what am I doing down here? Barring an injury, like
none of those guys, they might not even see the field.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking down here and at best I see touchdown or bust type of plays. And I have no problem playing touchdown or bust type of plays. But remember, a touchdown is like, even on a 10-yard catch, is like, that's 8 points. Like the kicker, all Robbie Gould needs is what? A 40-yard field goal, 2 extra points, and another field goal. And okay, there's 10 points. The 49ers defense, I mean, 3 sacks, 1 interception, under 14 points, like that, you're getting up to 10 points. I think in comparison, I think people are going to more likely jam in Jeff Wilson plus like try to jam in like 4 out of the top, like 8 guys up here. And then you're going to have to punt with some, and then it's going to be a JaMychal Hasty or a Trent Sherfield or a Michael Pruitt. Like the only way that these lineups would matter is by jamming in a lot of the top. And if any of these guys bust up here, like the balanced lineups, I think with the kickers and the defenses are more likely to rule the day. Of course, it's possible that Deebo Samuel has like 59 fantasy points at the captain spot. And it's like the only way to jam him, Kittle, Garoppolo, and Tannehill or something, or Browning, is by playing a $200 guy that gets 3 points. So that there's a possibility there. But this doesn't seem like the type of game that I see like one of the San Francisco guys going so nuclear that like that type of construction wins. I think a lot of people are I think a lot of the constructions will look like that. So like, is there anyone down here that you would even, I don't even know who I would even take a flyer on. I mean, if anyone, I guess Hilliard, hoping that, maybe Foreman gets injured and Hilliard mixes in more than you think, or McNichols.
Yeah, it'd probably be one of those guys. I mean, the sub $1,000 receivers, you might not even get a target out of any of those guys. Foreman did kind of take over that backfield last week, but Hilliard still had 9 carries for like 50 yards. He was decent when he touched the ball. McNichols had 3 catches and 6 carries. So Those guys are reasonable. I mean, you can make a case for them, but under 2K, I mean, there's just not a lot there. Hasty, I guess, at 1,200 if you think that they're going to stop giving Deebo the carries, but I mean, they haven't shown any sign of not doing that. So, yeah, I think it's either Hilliard or McNichols who at least have, they at least have some rush yard props out there tonight.
Right. Yeah. Some of these guys don't even have any props out for them whatsoever.
Yeah, Hasty does not have a prop. Hilliard's around 20 yards, McNichols around 15 yards, and around 10 or 12 receiving yards. So that's what you're getting for your $1,200 or $2,000 tonight.
S. Lambert 31. How about no quarterbacks from either team? Just Deebo, Kittle, running backs, and kickers or D's. I think that's going to be a popular build. Like what I was saying before has nothing to do. Remember, I don't play Showdown for the most probable. I play for the most profitable. So like if you I'm going to do what everyone else does. Well, good luck with that. I mean, you're trying to win a contest, especially the large field stuff. A lot of money up top, and you don't want to dupe 700 million times. I think the quarterbacks and the defense. I think the quarterbacks go under-owned because I think more people will do. Because Deebo and the captain, you don't need to correlate with Garoppolo. Right. I mean, like with his rushing ability, like it's not like to me, if you play Kittle in the captain, then I'm more likely to play Garoppolo in the flex because how else does Kittle get there without passing yards and passing touchdowns from Garoppolo? Like Deebo, I mean, Deebo could get there and Garoppolo could be sitting there with 8 points with no passing touchdowns and 200 yards, and that's it. And the 49ers still win 35-3, right? Like, I mean, it could still happen that way. So yes, but I think that will be more owned than the probability. And I'm more likely to play. Most of my lineups have both quarterbacks in it. And typically in the past, that would be like, oh, that's a popular construction, both quarterbacks. But we've seen on these types of slates that yes, and it's not like it's going to be unowned or anything, but I think having both quarterbacks, a defense, a kicker, and then the two highest score skill position players may be more valuable, especially on a slate where in the cheap end, like I don't see anyone. Right? I mean, I don't see how any of these guys get here, barring an injury or barring one of the top end options, just putting up such a ceiling score that getting 3 points out of one of these guys like is good enough. So to me, that's what leverage is in DFS. It's not a matter of, we're not trying to predict what's going to happen. It's what is the field, what is the market going to do, what are the probabilities of those outcomes, and in which outcomes are you paid more than the probability of it happening. So I do agree with that construction. I just think that a lot of people are going to be that's going to be the predominant construction. So I'd like to stay away from it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the two quarterbacks as the fourth and fifth highest owned captains, which is pretty rare. You don't see that a whole lot. So, and you probably aren't going to see as many builds as usual with both of them in there. So I don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look, Kittle 20%, Samuel 17%. Yeah, you typically don't see quarterback captains, under 10% ish. I think this Wilson number comes up. I think Wilson ends up being in double digit captain wise.
So we have it at about.
Yeah, we have it at 7.98. I think it ends up being 10 or 11 or something like that. How about FanDuel? I know we talk mostly about DraftKings. Five slots, MVP, no salary multiplier. I mean, there aren't that many options. I mean, to me, you're playing either the quarterbacks, AJ Brown, Wilson, Kittle, Samuel. I mean, like maybe Foreman. He needs to basically fall in the end zone at least twice, right? I mean, what other plays would be for the MVP spot?
Yeah, no, you don't want to get cute on FanDuel with that, or at least super cute. So, if you think that Deebo gets the rushing work, he's got even a little more value than Kittle on FanDuel because of the half-point PPR. So, he's also a little more expensive. But yeah, so Deebo, the quarterbacks, Jeff Wilson, I think, is probably about as fringy as I would get for an MVP pick on FanDuel.
Okay, let's take a look a little bit at SlateIQ, which is part of our premium package. If you want to get RotoGrinders Premium, click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month. And this is where we run simulations of the game, right? We do this for every island game, Sunday, Monday, Thursday. We look at historical constructions for, the large field GPP on DraftKings. And we also look at our current simulations. But essentially, we're simulating, you're using our projections, our ownership, simulating out the large field GPP tens of thousands of times, taking a look at what do the top 0.1% of lineups look like, okay? And according to our simulations, they lean more heavily to 4-2 and 3-3 constructions, right? And it's all about like, oh, what's the construction versus what it's going to be owned. It's not about what's the most probable. 1-5 constructions may only show up 1.62% of the time, but if it's going to be rostered at less than that, it can still be profitable to play those types of lineups. So we go here on the captain usage, and we see here in our simulations, distinct heavy negative leverage on George Kittle. I mean, whatever I'm going to show you here is going to be my lineups look like what this is because I use SlateIQ in order to build my lineups. So Deebo Samuel about even, Kittle negative leverage, Wilson positive leverage, Tannehill positive leverage, Deonta Foreman fairly heavy positive leverage, a little bit negative on Brown, a bunch of heavy positive on Ayuk, a bit negative on Garoppolo, about even-ish on Julio Jones, Jawan Jennings as a cheap one, right? 49ers defense, negative leverage in the captain spot. But if we take a look in our flex spots, like the defense is just like they poke out. San Francisco 49ers, heavy positive leverage in the flex. Titans, heavy positive leverage in the flex. Gold, heavy positive leverage in the flex. And this is primarily due to the fact that these cheap guys down here are all come in at like pretty much over-owned. Ferkser, McNichols, Swaim, Pruitt, Westbrook. I mean, Juszczyk and Hasty are kind of even-ish. Hilliard over-owned, right? So like the kickers and the defenses come out more often in the top 0.1% of lineups based on our simulations. So obviously this all matches my thoughts from earlier, why I'm building more lineups without Kittle in the captain, more lineups with the quarterbacks in the flex, and using the defenses way more than the field will, because on the bottom of that salary scale there's really nothing to write home about. But if you want to get SlateIQ, I know the NFL season is coming to a close, but we'll also have SlateIQ for the playoffs, right? Because we always have these island games for the playoffs, so we'll have SlateIQ simulations for that, the Super Bowl, right? Everything like that. So if you want to sign up even just for a month for NFL RotoGrinders Premium, just for NFL, feel free to do so by clicking on the link in the description, getting $10 off your first month. Or if you're playing basketball, we have basketball stuff, we have soccer, MMA. Justin has PGA. PGA's coming back soon, right? When's the first event?
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Okay, what's the event?
The Tournament of Champions. It's all the winners from the year before.
Oh, so it's one of those. There's a small field, like barely anyone. Like it's a no cut, but like 36 golfer.
Yeah, it's usually in the 30s, and then the first full field the week after that. So 3 weeks if you want to ignore the first one. But we haven't had golf. We're not used to like 5 weeks without golf. So even though that's the first week back is only like a 35 golfer field, you still get really excited because you haven't had golf for 5 weeks. So might as well jam in some lineups for this otherwise fairly useless tournament. And it's in Hawaii.
Well, that's what I'm doing in MMA. I'm not used to having a month off of MMA. Like this last UFC event, it's like the next one is until like January 15th. And I'm like, well, what do I do on Saturdays? Right. I got nothing to do. So I'm coming into what you've been feeling the past couple of weeks of like, oh no, me jamming in the highest leverage fighters and only to see them lose in 13 seconds.
That's right.
Okay, we got about 20 minutes left. I know it's only one game. How much can we talk about? But feel free to post your questions in the Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, you don't realize who the hell are they talking to and how do we talk to them? Just click on the Discord icon in the RotoGrinders on the RotoGrinders website. It may be in the description of this video. It may be. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Join the Discord. It's free, right? The live stream chat channel is free. We do have premium channels. Most of the discussion is in our premium channels, but for the live shows, we talk in the Discord as opposed on YouTube. And let me take a look through the chat. I don't see much. I mean, it's Titans versus 49ers. How much really can we talk about? I guess not much.
That's right. No, I was pulling up the chat as well. So Mr. Perfect did post, is Juszczyk worth a flex spot?
Mr. Perfect? I thought he was dead.
Well, he's got a Vancouver Grizzlies avatar, so it's a Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, maybe it's that doesn't look like the current Memphis Grizzlies logo. Maybe it is, but it looked like the Vancouver logo until I
Is Kurt Hennig hiding out in Vancouver? Is he really not dead?
Could be. I don't know. Maybe we've solved the case.
Is that his name in the chat, Mr. Perfect? Where do I see this?
Yeah, Mr. Perfect with a K.
Oh, with a K.
Perfect with a K. Maybe Blunder's in the wrong chat. I don't know.
Maybe am I in the wrong chat? I don't see Mr. Perfect.
I am in the right chat because it's the chat where Devin dropped the link of the show. So oh no, Justin's in the wrong chat. I was talking smack. Now I'm in the wrong chat. Well,
what chat are you in with Mr. Perfect?
Merry Christmas to me.
You're in the regular NFL chat?
Yeah, no. So I did not read Devin's post, like I should have, where it said talking tonight showdown slate here. I just figured that meant where I was at. But feel free to drop questions in live stream chat as I read after the fact, after talking smack. Learn your lesson, Justin.
Didn't I explain where to go to the chat to everyone else twice?
I wasn't listening to you, frankly, on that. I was trying to find it while you were explaining it. Anyway, Mr. Perfect is still chatting. He thinks by himself, but he can hear me now, so at least he has company. I am not playing Juszczyk tonight. I would probably use one of the Tennessee secondary running backs and maybe find a little more salary to get to one of those guys. But, if you need somebody down in the thousands, he's not the worst option. We've seen him catch some touchdowns before. I think he even had a multi-touchdown game. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Juszczyk. I better answer the question since I was the only one there to see it. All right.
I don't even know what chat you were even looking at. I mean, what
NFL Weekly. So the first week, I think last week was the week we started this, and you were out. So I had to host, and I had to host right when we changed this up to this channel. So I had it in my head from when I hosted last week. And so this was the first time since I hosted last week. So really, it's because I had to host last week. So it's still your fault.
Also, you're blaming me?
No, I'm not blaming anybody. Just having a little fun. All right, I'm
gonna go to Mr. Perfect. He's typing. It says Mr.
Well,
Perfect.
yeah, he found the right chat too. We're coming.
So
to the
you
right
both
place.
were in the wrong chat.
We were both in the wrong chat.
Okay, so it's not like you were answering a question that someone randomly had.
No, I had
whenever.
Yeah,
so they were in the wrong chat, and you were in the wrong chat. Everyone's in the wrong chat. No one listens to me.
To be fair, it was only me and Mr. Perfect, so everybody else was listening. But oh boy! All right, we're back on.
No,
track
but I agree with you. Juszczyk is like a touchdown or bust type of play. I think there's more ceiling in playing Hilliard or McNichols, and seeing if the Titans just the work may be more spread out in their backfield than in the 49ers backfield.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be more spread out. And also my blunder there was not as bad as Kevin Ross at the end of NBA Crunch Time last night, where he said he was going to the airport to pick up a mom, which you could totally interpret that he was going to try to hit on some moms at the airport as opposed to picking up his wife at the airport. But that's all right. It's funny.
Trivia. What was Mr. Perfect's finishing move?
Oh man, you're gonna have to ask the chat that one. I'll wait and see what the correct chat
It's an
said.
easy one. That's an easy
It's
one.
not my wheelhouse.
Not your wheelhouse. You didn't watch WWF back then?
I did, but not. When was?
Mr. Perfect is late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, it's probably a few years. So I probably would have been like 95-ish, maybe 96.
Yeah, that's a little late.
Little late.
Kurt Hennig went to WCW at that point. It was the perfect plex. It was a fisherman suplex with a bridge.
I just remember the old video games growing up where I was always the sumo Japanese dude,
Yokozuna?
Yokozuna, that's it.
Well, that was the newer version of the game. The older arcade version had like Earthquake and Junkyard Dog and like kind of like the late 80s, mid 80s types of characters.
Yeah. See, that was a little before me.
Well, I started watching wrestling when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So, I mean, on the like Saturday morning stuff.
Yeah,
so, I don't know what the hell's going on. What else are we going to talk? We got 15 minutes left. I figured if Mr. Perfect is in the chat, arisen from the dead, that we might as well talk about it. It's better than talking about NBA.
Yeah, I mean, NBA is a mess.
And NBA, we're trying to do a show, 50-minute show on one game. You could probably do an NBA show for 4 hours and not still get enough information.
Did we answer Carolina's guy's question when I was in the wrong chat about fading both quarterbacks?
Well, you could fade both quarterbacks in FanDuel GPP, large field with Foreman. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I don't
It's
hate
showdown. You can do whatever you want.
Play whoever you want.
Right. Obviously, if you put Foreman in your MVP, you're expecting Titans to win probably and score rushing touchdowns. So it would make more sense if Foreman's in your MVP to not have like Tannehill, right? Not have, maybe not even Wilson. It depends. I mean, obviously he could get there in multiple ways, but typically when I play like non-pass catching running backs in that type of slot, MVP or captain, I'm less inclined to play the team's quarterback with them because they'll be negatively correlated. They're typically not positively correlated because they're not going to be passing touchdowns to them that often. KGR 008, double kickers.
Oh, the exciting game. Heck, that probably could have won on Sunday night with that 9-0 game with the Bucks and the Saints. Boy, we've had some bad primetime games these last few days. The Sunday night game was terrible. The Monday night games were terrible. The Tuesday night
all the Sunday games were terrible. All the games are just, why don't we just say all the games are terrible?
So it brings me to a point of like, why is the NFL not losing popularity if the product on the field is as bad as it is?
No, they are losing popularity.
Yeah, not in our bubble, I guess.
Yeah, well, our bubble, if it wasn't for DFS, I wouldn't be watching it. So
right,
what does it matter?
If there was DFS for marble racing, we'd be on it.
I've been Bulgarian ping pong. Let's do it. Let's do it. If it's on TV, I'll be watching that.
A lot of
in our bubble, what does it matter? I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I don't know. I just as kickers that could win any slate these days. You look at the last 4 primetime games we've had, and you get 17-10 games and 9-0 games, and guys getting hurt. And I don't know. I mean, 2 kickers seems crazy, but
it's not that crazy. Well, I mean, I'm not playing 2 kicker lineups. 2 kicker lineups typically are negative leverage. I'm more likely to play the kicker and then the defense of the team that the kicker is. The main reason for that is that late in the game, if a team is down by more than a field goal, the team that's down is less likely to kick field goals. They're more likely to go for it on 4th and 2 on the 28-yard line, like that type of, they're not going to be, there's no point. I mean, yeah, we do have dumb coaches, but if the team is down by 11 going into the 4th quarter, like, probably don't if they're close to the end zone, they're going to go for the touchdown and not for the field goal. So I'm less likely to play the kicker from one team and the defense from the other team, because if one team's doing well, it's most likely at the end of the game, they're not kicking field. The winning team, the team that's ahead, is going to kick field goals, but the team that's behind, if the Titans are down by 17, and they're on the 4-yard line and they need 4 yards for a touchdown, I mean, They ain't kicking a field goal there, right? They shouldn't. That's the key. The key is they shouldn't.
Pete Carroll's not coaching tonight, so I think we're okay. We're not gonna have to worry about.
But we have Shanahan. That doesn't right. Shanahan. Who's the Tennessee coach? Vrabel.
Yeah.
These are horrible coaches, also. So what should we expect? We need Staley to coach all the teams. That's what he should be, the universal coach.
I was I can't remember when the Chargers were on last Thursday. I posted something about, here comes everybody complaining that Staley didn't kick the field goal. And I'm not kidding. Like 2 minutes later, my wife comes and sits down. She goes, "Why didn't they kick the field goal?" And I just got a nice big chuckle out of it. But they had a few fourth down calls backfire on them in that game. And I'm a Baltimore fan, and they've had 2-point conversions at the end. So the fail, and the analytics haters are rolling right now. But it is.
Why don't we just call them math haters? It's not analytics. Yeah. It's math. It's addition. That's all it is.
Too scary. It's too scary. Can't do that math.
Mr. Perfect would go for it on every fourth down.
You just gotta do it like everybody.
Well, truthfully, Mr. Perfect would never let it get to fourth down because he's perfect, right?
Scoring every time.
Right, he's scoring every play, right? He actually had a vignette when he threw his own pass and caught like 100-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Not impressed. You're not impressed.
No, it's amazing. I was just trying to roll some thoughts around in my head, but S. Lambert thinks that the NBA is a bigger tire fire than the NFL. They're all tire fires right now. Baseball's on strike. NBA is missing 100 guys. In my opinion, the NBA would have shut down for a week or so by now, if not for the Christmas Day games. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but then who's playing in the Christmas? Yes, stay home and watch Christmas Day as O'Shea Brissett takes on Sterling Brown. I mean, like, what are they doing? I mean, who cares? But I because they already have the TV rights. I mean, Correct. They want to broadcast something.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sports books had lines up for the Christmas Day games like 2 months ago, and they've taken them down.
Well, hopefully, dude, it's hard to have the lines up the day of the game.
Right, yeah. I wish I would have bet them when they first hit. Like, the average total in the NBA now is like 210, 215. But a couple of those Christmas Day games at the beginning of the year had like 240 totals because that's what we've been used to the last couple of years. But anyway, you've seen totals come down in these NFL games. You look at them all. I mean, most of them are in the 40s. So, and I know it's for those that are still playing in season-long leagues. I know last week was like the first week of playoffs for a lot of people, and that was kind of a mess. But I don't know. It's the world we're living in now, I guess.
Devin says that he's playing Ayuk and the captain, fading Kittle and Sam.
I have no idea how we still have 9 minutes until this game starts.
Right. I have no idea either. How much can we talk about one game?
This game must be really bad.
Right. There's no questions in the chat. I mean, if there were questions, we'd answer in the Discord. But I'm more concerned. I mean, we have, of course, Devin's posting it.
I'm it is half offensive. The only thing I said about Ayuk during the show was that I think he really sucks. And then our producer, who's obviously listening to the show, has jammed him into the captain spot. So
I got him in captain lineups also.
He's terrible.
I don't care about his talent. Can he be the optimal captain?
He could catch a long one. You just never know.
Right, going for first. Devin has it right.
You play to win the game. Yeah,
you play to win the. You don't play for the most probable. You play for the most profitable. And in order to make profit on these showdowns, you have to lose 99 times and win once. That's all you have to do.
Ayuk is perfect for that.
Right, he could go five for 90 and 2 touchdowns. Why not? What's wrong with that?
Oh boy. I don't mind the thought process. I just don't like Ayuk, and that is definitely bias.
So we got 7 minutes left. If you want to go to the RotoGrinders chat in the Discord, the live stream chat, not wherever
the NFL
Justin
weekly
is.
Chat.
Right. Don't go to wherever he's going somewhere else. He's going to the tutorials section, probably the rules section or something. trying to find stuff in known issues, seeing whether or not Brandon Ayuk is posted in the known issues, right?
I was trying to post my 1v1 in the Blender Game Theory channel.
Oh, at least I'm on the show. You want to ask me a question that makes sense. But if you're in like DFS taxes, like, well, that's really where you should be coming.
I was gonna say that's not a bad spot for me. Mark Flores is asking AJ Brown or Jimmy G. AJ Brown or Jimmy G. I think I'd rather play Jimmy G just in a vacuum. I mean, obviously it depends on a little bit of your lineup construction, but I'm just a little cautious on Brown, how much he's going to be out there, even though they're saying all the right things.
Right. But I think people are going to own AJ Brown as if he's wide receiver 1 with no problems.
Yeah.
So I think that's where and that could be true, but I don't see people shying away from AJ Brown. And we've seen him come out of games like almost every game. I mean, like, I don't remember a game this season where I haven't gotten an alert at some point on Sunday that isn't like AJ Brown is headed to locker room or he's out for a couple of plays. He's questionable to return, something like that. And I'm more likely to kill off those lineups. I mean, I do have AJ Brown in some lineups, but like, I'm not going overboard on him. I mean, you could say the same thing for Julio. Like, this is the most, the receiving core for the Titans is fragile, and the offensive line is like not even any of their starters. So I'm not sure how much I like the Tennessee offense to begin with. But you could say the same thing for the 49ers defense, because like half their team is out also. So who knows? But welcome to the NFL, right?
I don't think anything else has come down over the course of the show that we need to freak out about.
No. GMMJR. Should I be going with the highest projected ceiling when deciding on my captain?
So, I mean, it depends obviously on the format. You want to, in GPPs, you maybe take ownership into account a little bit. And the quarterbacks just naturally are going to have the highest raw ceiling. And Garoppolo's ceiling tonight is actually, it's pretty high. We got him at 31. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad strategy. And if you like to go for that, the data suggests that as the 4th or 5th highest owned captain with the highest ceiling, then Garoppolo could be the play there.
Right. And as I always say, it's not about players, it's about lineups. So like, when people ask me, it's like, who's your favorite captain? It's like, there's 2 problems with that question. The word favorite, because I have no favorites, and the captain doesn't matter. I care about the lineup. So like, I have no Garoppolo captain lineups, but that's primarily because for him to be the optimal captain, it's most likely he's going to be taking on Deebo and Kittle and Ayuk, and they're expensive. And I'd much rather in a PPR format have the wide receiver player. If Garoppolo has a 303 game, most likely one of Samuel, Kittle, or Ayuk actually scores more fantasy points than he does, unless it's really spread out. But that's what I mean by lineups, not players. You have to think of Garoppolo and the captain, and then 5 Titans. Kind of doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 3 minutes left. We're almost done. And stalling as much as possible.
We're crawling to the finish line here.
Crawling to the finish line, right? Here's a trivia question. On the first episode of Monday Night Raw, Mr. Perfect was in the main event against someone in a retirement match. Who was that person?
Well, hopefully that's for the chat. And
you couldn't even make a guess. You can't even make a guess.
I couldn't tell you who's around. This is before me. It's just too early.
The
chat will
that would have been like 1993.
It's probably still a couple years early. I feel like 95-ish was my year or two where I got in it pretty good. The chat, somebody in the chat will get it though.
I don't think so. I don't see anyone typing. unless they're typing
Well,
in the
they're
wrong
on
chat.
the live. The show's on a little bit of a lag.
You Google it. I remember watching that exact episode. I remember.
This was the first Monday Night Raw?
Yes, first Monday Night Raw. The main event was a retirement match between Mr. Perfect and this wrestler.
I found a Google. I don't know if this was. I see one. I got 3 videos from. One says Taz, one says Doink, and one says Ric Flair. Are all of those wrong?
No, one of them is right. It obviously can't be Taz.
I don't know, but this video of Doink here is going to make me have nightmares now.
You don't remember Doink the Clown?
Oh, I remember. I mean, I remembered, but it was a repressed memory, probably from the nightmares.
The correct answer is Ric Flair.
All right.
He was on a 2-year contract and he went back to WCW. So that was his like loser leaves town match. See, there you go. S. Lambert right in there. Flores Mark says Rick Martel. No, that would be incorrect.
S. Lambert got it with the old gift there.
Right. I'm surprised Mr. Perfect didn't get it. How could Mr. Perfect not get it?
Mr. Perfect's back in the wrong chat.
Right. He's posting somewhere else. He's posting in the taxes chat. Okay, I think we're there. Are we there? Is it lock? I think it's lock where you. I think it's lock where everyone else
man.
We made it. And this is the last Thursday pre-lock show.
There's no more Thursday night football.
No Thursday night football. I'm waiting
for now until games get moved around. Then there'll be Thursday night football again.
Right. Then we'll be doing pre-lock shows every day of the week. I'm waiting for there to be no football. And then see the thing, Justin, is I don't want to say that because like when football is over, then it's NBA, then I play NBA. And then I look at the NBA right now and I go, good thing I'm playing NFL DFS. Like I'd much rather play the showdown slate than tonight's NBA slate, main slate.
Oh man, yeah. I didn't play NBA tonight either. It's just too many dings, too many alerts. You know what? I'm gonna let that go for tonight. So hopefully in a few weeks that'll this new COVID variant will calm down and we won't have to worry about the shenanigans too much.
And so hopefully everyone had built their lineups well and got in the right chat. Yeah, people are in the right chat now. So last Thursday, you're going to be doing the golf content now, coming back at in the premium stuff for people to sign up for.
First full week of January, we'll have all the written content for the Tournament of Champions there, but it's such a small field. We usually don't do a live show for it, but we'll have the live show starting back up. January 11th should be the first one. So.
Okie doke. And I'm always on the DFS pregame show weekday mornings. And it's a happy holiday. Happy whatever you celebrate, right? Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. I don't know. Are there other holidays?
You covered the main ones.
Or just whatever. I'm Jewish. So like to me, Christmas Eve is like, it's Chinese food day. Like that's right. Let's see what's open, right? Nothing's open and you get Chinese takeout and that's it. And that you don't do anything. You wake up Christmas morning, you get a bagel, right? But I mean, that's in New York City. And then you wonder, like, there's nothing to do. And you turn on TNT and all it is a Christmas story.
Christmas story for 24 hours.
Right. Okay. So for Justin Van Zunen, STL Cards, I'm Jordan Cooper at Blender HD. And we'll see you next year, I guess, on Thursdays. I'll be back for another pre-lock show on Mondays. But that has been the NFL pre-lock show here on RotoGrinders.com.